For the introduction of Capricho Arabe, the first measure, we have our harmonic and our harmonic chord. And as I noted on the annotated score, this could be played several different ways. We can play with P, I, and M. We can play with I, M, and A. We can play flesh and nail. We can do thumb, all flesh. The notes can be played together or arpeggiated. It could be loud, or you can play it softly. Now, each of these options produces a very distinct sound. So choose what you like depending on the mood you wish to create in these opening measures. And then, when this phrase is repeated in measure 5, use a different option or combination of options to add contrast. Don't play the harmonic chord in measure 1 and measure 5 the same way. Do it differently. So if you wanted a more mysterious opening, you could do all thumb flesh and fairly quietly. Or if you want a more aggressive, in your face kind of sound, flesh and nail together on the thumb and play it very forcefully. All depends on how you want it to sound. Now, on the opening scale, no matter, well, first of all, I should say I gave you several fingerings in the annotated score to play this opening run here. But no matter which left-hand fingering you use, the passage can be played with rest stroke or free stroke or a combination of both. And once again, this is an opportunity to vary what you do when this is repeated in the next phrase. So we could do all rest stroke fairly powerfully. We can do free stroke for a light sound, gossamer-like sound. Or we could start with rest stroke and loud and then go to free stroke for a decrescendo. Or we could start free stroke lightly and then go to rest stroke for a crescendo to help create the effect of the crescendo. So keep in mind that the use of rest stroke and free stroke is a way to vary how you play this passage. All very useful. The dynamics, we could play the opening in measure 2, 2, 3, and 4 strongly, all loud. Then we could echo softly in measure 5, measure 6, very quietly. That's a great contrast. And that's the red option there. Or the green option is to play quietly at the beginning. And then play loud. So two very different ways of playing it. The purple option, we can crescendo and then decrescendo to the A chord like that. Or we could have stayed loud through the phrase and then going on, I could use any of the options I use in measure 2. I could use those in measure 6. The blue option in measure 2, I could start loud, decrescendo, and decrescendo some more, or I could have stayed a little louder at the end of the phrase like that. And again, I could go on measure 6, use any of those options in measure 6. Or the orange option, I could crescendo and then decrescendo within that measure. Crescendo up to about the C natural there, and then decrescendo. And then the blue options work well following that. All right? And these chords, you have the option of playing them straight, like that. that, arpeggiate it, both, or arpeggiate one and not the other. So again, lots of opportunities for playing the repeat at measure 6, playing it differently from measure 2. Then you also have options for rubato. Now you notice the little signs I have there that kind of look like fermatas. You don't want to pause at every one of these, but you could pause, for instance, at the first one. Like that. And notice I didn't do the pull off because I'm pausing on that first one. Like that. Or you could pause on the second beat. Like that. The third beat. Or the and of the third beat, like that. I could pause on this chord, or I could pause on the E going into the A chord. So again, any one of those will sound good, possibly maybe even 2 or 3 of them could be held. Just don't try and hold all of them though. And these are opportunities, once again, to vary the repeat of measure 2 when you play it in measure 6. Use those rubato options. Or you can pause at none of them. Just play the scale straight through on, say, the first phrase in measure 2, and then use some of those rubato pauses on the repeat in measure 6. However you want it to go, but you have so many choices to grab from. It's great. And in addition to those holds that you can make on individual specific notes, on a larger scale, you could also simply play fast throughout the measure 2. And then when it repeats, you could vary that. For instance, you could begin slowly and then accelerate through the measure. Or you could begin fast and then retard at the end of the measure. Or you can begin slowly, then accelerate, then retard. Like that. Or you can play it very freely throughout. Something like that. And then the chords can be played in rhythm. Or again, played very freely, like that. And once again, you would vary how you play those chords in measure 7 when you play them again. So again, go for variety. In measure 9, leading into our fast scale, we could start quietly, the red option, crescendo the B flat, and then quiet on the high E, and go from there. Or the green option, start quietly, crescendo all the way through to the high E. The purple option, all loud, and then go from there. Or the blue option, start loud and decrescendo to the high E. Like that. For the run in measure 11, we could start quietly and simply crescendo all the way through to the downbeat of measure 12. That, or we could start quietly and crescendo to the third beat and then decrescendo to the downbeat of measure 12. Like that. Or the green option, the first green option, we could play forte, start loud and simply decrescendo, long decrescendo to the downbeat of measure 12. Or the second green option is to start loud, decrescendo to the third beat, and then crescendo into the downbeat of measure 12. Like that. And then keep note on measure 12 that the fermata is on the first beat. That's the long one. Some people make that long and the second note long, which, yeah, you can do that. My opinion is that only, you want to hold the half note definitely, but that the third beat shouldn't be too long because it needs to pull us into the downbeat of measure 13 rather than being static and sitting on that A. I think it needs to lead in to the downbeat of 13 like that. On measures 13 and 14, once again, lots of possibilities. We could play loud, suddenly soft. Or the green option, we could start loud and decrescendo, and then measure 14, crescendo and decrescendo. That would sound like this. Or the purple option, start quietly and crescendo to the third beat, decrescendo, measure 14, do the same thing. Start quietly, crescendo to the third beat, decrescendo. Like that. Or the blue option, we start quietly, crescendo to the downbeat of 14, and then decrescendo. You can also, on any of those choices, change the tone quality on measure 14. So if you start measure 13 bright, play 14 dark. Or vice versa, however you want it to go. Again, the important thing is contrast and change.